My mom did the deed with my husband and got pregnant with twins. They continued the affair until I caught them in bed together on New Year's Eve while I was nearly 7 months pregnant. I publicly exposed everything. My mom lost her job, her marriage, and she is now homeless. Here's what happened. Subscribe with notifications turned on. I'm a 40-year-old female and my dad is 63 years old. My mom is 60 years old and they've been married for nearly 43 years. I have 6 siblings, a 42-year-old sister, a 38-year-old sister, a 34-year-old sister, a 20-year-old brother, another 20-year-old brother, and an 18-year-old brother. I have been with my husband, who's a 39-year-old, since we were 15 years old. I got pregnant when I was 17 and we moved in with my parents. I gave birth to my now 22-year-old daughter. We got married at 18 shortly after. My dad's father passed away shortly after our wedding and left his ranch-style house to my father. My grandparents built a house next door to my parents when they retired. My parents decided to let us live in this house and told us this would be my inheritance. My husband and I had no issues with this. We went on to have a 20-year-old son, a 14-year-old daughter, a 5-year-old daughter, and I'm currently 7 months pregnant with my last child, a boy who's due in April. I thought I had a good marriage. We were intimate more than twice a week. We went on date nights. We bought each other gifts. We didn't fight. My entire world was shattered when on New Year's Eve, I returned early from a girls' trip I had taken with some friends. I walked into my bedroom and I found my mother doing the deed with my husband. My mother screamed at me to get out of their bedroom, which really shook me up even more. Unfortunately, my oldest daughter was also home in her bedroom across the house getting ready for a party. She ran out and witnessed my all but a bedsheet naked mother running out of our house next door to her house and slam the door. My daughter was devastated and went to my sister's house. I asked her not to say anything until I first talked to my husband. I asked him for the truth. He told me that my mom seduced him when we were 18 and living in their house. They'd been doing the deed unprotected at least once a month for longer than we were married. I ran the math and was horrified because the timeline meant that my twin brothers and my youngest brother could be my husbands. I immediately called my dad and I told him to come to my house without my mom. I made my husband confess and my dad was devastated. He and my mom were high school sweethearts too. Needless to say, we could hear my mother screaming from her house when he confronted her. I then told my older sister and she and I decided to have her throw a party for the whole extended family and we invited my ex's family as well. At the party, I had my 22-year-old daughter take all the kids to our basement and put on a movie, leaving only the adult children and siblings, and I told them exactly what they'd be doing. Most of the family is on my side except my 3 youngest siblings. My 38-year-old sister, my ex's entire family, they all say I'm a jerk for doing this publicly. Word got out and my mom's best friend, who was on leadership in my mom's church, my childhood church, called me to verify. My mom has since been let go as the children's pastor there, and she claims I've essentially ruined her reputation and her life. My dad kicked her out and now she's living with my 38-year-old sister. And lastly, my dad insisted on a DNA test for 3 of the youngest boys before he'd consider anything to do with their marriage. The twins are my husband's biological children. I've since kicked him out and he's living with his parents. My father and I are discussing me moving into his much larger house and him selling my grandfather's house and him giving me the money to buy a new house somewhere to get rid of the memories. My husband is appalled and furious that I proved he actually is about to have 7 kids instead of 5, that I'm going to be taking away half his business from him. My husband started his own HVAC company a few years back, and for the first 5 years, I helped him get it set up, ran the office completely, and took time away from my teaching career to help him get this established. In my state, all marital assets, including businesses, are split 50-50. Since the house was still in my father's name, my husband will get no money from the sale. Neither will my mother, since inherited assets are not subject to be split in divorces. My mother is also not likely to get any alimony, as our state is not a no-fault divorce state. I'm now over a month removed and still extremely bitter and angry at my mother, especially at her hypocrisy of calling me a floozy and shaming my family when she's done much worse. I also despise my ex with everything within me now. He was doing the deed with both my mom and me, in some instances coming to our bed minutes later. He got my mother pregnant less than a week after getting me pregnant. And while at the time I thought it was so cute and fun that I shared a pregnancy experience with my mom, she was carrying my children's half-siblings in her. He has broken all trust I had in men and being faithful. I have already procured a good lawyer from the firm that helped us in financial matters for both me and my dad is helping pay for it. My twin brothers, one of my sisters, and my entire ex's family have gone no contact with me, and my children have essentially lost all of their grandparents, but my dad, 2 uncles, and an aunt on my side, and my husband's 3 brothers due to this mess. I've also developed ulcers and digestive issues because of this, so I'm visiting the doctor soon, and I've been in therapy since the first week of January. I've offered this for my 2 adult children if they need family therapy with all of us, but they're doing individual therapy right now. My 14-year-old knows that we're getting divorced and why, and she is so angry at her dad that I struggle sending her to his house on the weekends. I feel like she's old enough to make a decision on that, but I don't want to damage her relationship with her dad. I've told all my kids it's okay to love their dad even if he hurt me, but the oldest 2 have cut him off 100%. I won't tell my youngest 2 until they're teenagers why we got divorced, and everyone else has agreed not to spill anything until they're old enough to understand. As for how I had no idea this affair was going on, my husband confirmed to me that they would do the deed at my mom's office at church, in their cars, at a motel, and when we built the business, they started doing it routinely in his office once I went back to teaching. They also had it in our houses too when my father would go away on business trips or I'd be out of town. It was pure happenstance that I came home a day early from that trip because I was uncomfortable from being nearly 7 months pregnant and I just wanted my own bed for me to find out. Knowing they'd be carrying on this full-blown affair still if I hadn't caught them is what I'm still upset about. The fact that the grandmother and father of my children cared so little about destroying our families is what I can't get past. What's hardest for me is that my own mother would do this to me and would continue to do this for years, not caring when it all blew up in her face that she would be destroying her entire family. To add insult to injury, my husband confirmed in one of our mediated conversations that the affair started when I apparently made him angry. He didn't tell me and instead vented to my mom when they were alone. She comforted him and that's when they did the deed. He loved it and then pursued her after that. He said he would have divorced me but knew he'd get cut off from her and she was so much better at doing the deed than me. So he stuck it out with me. He told me that I was a placeholder. Of all the betrayals and low blows, that statement is what keeps me up at night. Who was the biggest jerk? An update from the future says, I tried to go the route of a mediated divorce, but my ex told me yesterday through his lawyers that he doesn't believe that the baby I'm carrying is his and he wants a DNA test as soon as he's born because he doesn't want to support a child that isn't his. He also believes that I routinely cheated on him throughout our marriage and that I knew about his ongoing affair and used that as my excuse to have my own affairs. None of that is true, but I kind of wish it was because it would make the divorce easier. My lawyer basically told me to get ready for a long, drawn-out, brutal, contested divorce and that my ex is likely going to try every underhanded tactic in the book to make my life even more miserable. Here are the answers to a few questions people have asked from the OP. Number 1, my twin brothers look like my egg donor side of the family. They look very close to my uncle and grandfather. They clearly don't look like my dad at all, but they also don't resemble my husband much either. My son looks like my soon-to-be ex, and he is the only child that you can visibly tell is his kid, although my 14-year-old daughter has his nose and jaw shape. Number 2, I was definitely enraged the day everything went down, but my dad talked me off the edge of attack and reminded me that I needed to think about my baby and my other kids before I do something that would remove both parents from their lives. That is what spared them. I still lived in a rage fog for the next few days, which is what led to the revenge party. I only regret not telling my brothers privately that my egg donor had been cheating. Number 3, I honestly don't know all of the reasons my 38-year-old sister is on my egg donor side. She doesn't get along with me or my sisters and hasn't since high school. I'm not that worried about her. Number 4, my twin brothers are upset that I sprung the news publicly. That is what my dad has gotten out of them. They're also in therapy and my dad has told me just to give them time. He thinks it's just them killing the messenger. I did not tell them the possibility that my ex was their dad, but they can do the math and figured out that they're the same age as my son and he's younger than the length of the affair. affair. My dad sat them down and explained his reasoning for the DNA test was to prove cheating and not because he was going to abandon them. He is still their dad regardless of who fertilized the egg. Number 5, I don't believe that my egg donor and soon-to-be ex waited until he was 18 to do the deed, but at this point, I'm letting my dad fight that fight and letting him do what he needs to do when dealing with her and their divorce. Number 6, I have contingency plans ready to enact in the event that they decide to move in together, but my lawyer doesn't believe my ex is stupid enough to do that with the divorce proceedings turning ugly. And finally, number 7, I forgot to add this in earlier, my husband is 4 months younger than me. My birthday is in December and his is in April. He will be 40 soon. We were in the same graduating class all through school from kindergarten to high school. He's not a full year younger than me as others have speculated. I had a phone conversation with my aunt today, my egg donor's sister, and she told me there is a family history of cheating in our family on their side of the family. My grandma cheated on my grandpa for years, but they reconciled. My aunt herself had multiple emotional affairs, but is still married to my uncle. She tried blaming genetics on my mom's affair, and I laughed out loud at the absurdity of that attempt to justify her affair, and my aunt is now mad at me for not hearing my egg donor out and her explanations for cheating. My dad and lawyer both say I should hear her out, so I'm still considering doing it right before we meet in early March to establish custody. I should mention that I asked my aunt if my mom inherited the floozy gene, which child she passed it on to, and how did my grandma manage to pass it on to both her daughters. So that's probably why she's mad in retrospect. I've honestly lost all sympathy for cheaters after this. The final update to this whole situation started with a recap of just the updates where the OP said, my ex accused me of also being unfaithful because he was and wants a DNA test when our son is born. My aunt exposed multiple affairs on my egg donor side of the family and tried to claim that it's genetic and hereditary. My dad and I's lawyer encouraged us to meet with my egg donor for evidence and for closure, and this update deals with the answers we were given about her choices when we did meet. So this whole time we haven't really seen much of the mom's perspective from this whole thing, but this is where we get to see that. The OP said, I met with my egg donor, dad, and our lawyers last evening. Essentially, my egg donor said she knew it was wrong, but she enjoyed the attention. Doing the deed with my husband was great and she enjoyed the thrill of it. She kept sleeping with my dad because she enjoyed their financial stability and carefree life and wanted to stay married. She purposely slept with him after each encounter with my ex to endure if she got pregnant so she could pass the child off. She also admitted to enjoying the knowledge that my ex enjoyed doing the deed with her more than with me. She then said she is moving in with my ex to his new place and that she invited the boys to live with them. The twins have visited once since the affair went public and told her that they don't like my ex and refuse to treat him like he's their father. She said eventually they'll come around once she's married to my ex and then she'll have her family back. I laughed out loud and I told her she was delusional and needed psychiatric help. Then I told her I would be taking out an order of protection against her so she'd have no access to my minor children. She called me jealous and an ungrateful cow for not appreciating that she didn't abort me and let me live. She then said I should be happy that they didn't kick me out when I came home knocked up. She even had the nerve to say that I should be thankful she kept my husband happy when I couldn't, so he didn't divorce me and leave me a broken and damaged good single mother. She then told my dad she suffered from postpartum depression after my birth and my dad ignored it and her and made her feel alone, so she felt justified in hating me to have affairs. She admitted to having multiple affairs from 6 months after I was born until New Year's Eve, and she said they'd still be doing it if I hadn't ruined everything. So my 38-year-old sister and my 34-year-old sister may not be my dad's either. My dad is even more heartbroken and angry, but we did have both our lawyers present and we got it on record. My dad has already reached out to my siblings, but to nobody's surprise, I guess my 38-year-old sister already knew it was a possibility because my mom told her about both affairs when the dads were born and she knew they might not be my dads and kept it from us. My dad is devastated by that even more than losing his relationship with my mom. I'm not sure their relationship will ever recover. I genuinely have no clue what is wrong with my 38-year-old sister. My 34-year-old sister doesn't want a paternity test and said our dad will always be her dad. My dad is fine with that. I sent a message to my ex through my lawyer that I will be filing an order of protection tomorrow so that my kids won't have to go to my ex's house if my mother is there. Neither one has even attempted to find new housing either, so I guess she's planning to move into my ex-in-law's house. I really don't want my kids around that mess. He has yet to respond, but at this point, I don't really care what he wants. One big question that was asked in the comments was, did your sister know that the egg donor was cheating with your husband specifically, or did she just know that the egg donor was cheating with someone And the OP said she knew it was my husband and didn't tell me or my dad, which is why my dad is so upset with her. This whole story is completely devastating. I cannot even begin to imagine what it would be like to spend your entire life with someone. I mean, they got together so young, to build an entire life together, and then your own family, your mother, does this and gets pregnant with your husband's children. I mean, this is something that is so sad. The callousness that the husband and the mother would have in this situation to waste the time and the life of the OP to have her go through all of this and ultimately find out when they never would have told her otherwise. They never would have just left. The husband's reason for not divorcing was because he thought he would lose access to the mother. I mean, the word selfish doesn't even begin to describe the actions of both of them in this case. But it's even beyond selfish. It's like they don't even think about the existence of the OP. The one silver lining, if you could even call it that, is the law about inheritance, so they get to keep the house, and the law about not being a no-fault state. I mean, in this case, those are material things, and I'm sure that the brutal emotional damage outweighs anything and everything, but at least there's not the spite of having to give away more things than you absolutely have to. And apparently she's going to be taking part of his HVAC business. I just can't get over how weird it is that the husband and the mom both revel in the fact that the husband enjoyed the mom more. I mean, that is so weird and gross and too much information. I mean, why did they even have to say that? What was the point of saying that at all? Just to try and hurt the OP? I really don't even know what someone would do in a situation this intense and this long lasting. Where do you even go from here? Let me know what your thoughts are down below. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on. And if you're a fan of podcasts, make sure you check out the podcast as well. But either way, thanks a lot for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.